Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Liz Easley from the USC Lancaster campus, and today we have Kailey Miller, a former USCL student and recent BSN graduate from the College of Nursing. And today Kailey's going to share her undergraduate research experiences in exercise science. So I'm going to turn this over to Kailey, and she's going to share her screen and her presentation with us.
Okay, so as Dr. Easley was saying, my name's Kailey, and I'm going to be talking about research and exercise science from a student's perspective. So first, just a few little things about me. Like I said, my name's Kailey, and I'm 23 years old. I just recently graduated from the BSN program at Columbia. I was a distance student at Lancaster, and starting in October, I'll be beginning my nurse residency at Novant in their pediatrics department. And I have the future goal of becoming a nurse practitioner who specializes in oncology because I had cancer as a child, and so that's kind of where that passion stems from. I also run and play soccer, and recently I've taken up Krav Maga, which is a form of self-defense. And that's kind of been taking over my life. And then I also have a cat who is the light of my life and is the most beautiful cat you'll ever see. So here's the other picture of her. She's a goofball. Anyway. So why should you participate in research as an undergraduate? The answer is simply very obvious. It provides an abundance of opportunities and promotes growth. So one of the main opportunities or added benefits that you get from conducting research is graduation with leadership distinction. So there are 5 different pathways for GLD, the research pathway being one of them. And I actually obtained GLD for my associate's degree in the research pathway, and then again for my bachelor's degree. And so GLD kind of entails, in the research pathway, you've got to participate in a research project. It doesn't necessarily have to be in exercise science if that's not really where you're going with your career and your future, but that's where I chose to do mine. But you can always talk to the professors in whatever field or area that interests you and see if they're doing any research. The next thing you've got to do is complete a 3-credit-hour research course and finish that course with at least a B or better. The third step is completing a public presentation. Typically this is at Discover USC, but you may have a substitutive research conference given the situation that we're currently in. And finally, you have to create something that's called an e-portfolio, and I can show you guys mine real quick. So this is the e-portfolio that I created for my research pathway. And so it's kind of just a website that you create, and it goes through all these different pages. You've got to have an About Me section, and then you have your 3 key insights. I won't go through all of them, but I'll just bring this one up real quick. And you have artifacts linked and all different kinds of stuff. And then you have a leadership section, in which you go through kind of a problem or a project that is real, or maybe something that you would like to conquer, but you know, isn't actually happening. So yeah, that's kind of what your e-portfolio will look like. And so yeah, the next benefit of doing research is that it takes you places, and this is probably the best part in my opinion, because I've gone to so many different places that I'd only dreamed of going, and research has allowed those dreams to come to real life. And so, like I was talking about before, I've presented multiple times at Discover USC, and I actually won first place my second time going, and that's what this picture is of. It was definitely a golden moment in my academic career. And I've also gone to the College of Nursing Research and Scholarship Day, which is a research conference that the College of Nursing hosts. I traveled to Chattanooga, Tennessee, which is this picture right here. And I got to present at the Southeast Regional American College Sports Medicine Conference, and that was actually my first presentation, so that was really intimidating, but it was amazing. It was a great experience. And then finally, probably my biggest, most prized memory from doing research is that I was able to travel to Oldenburg, Germany to present at the Second World Congress on undergraduate research. And that was honestly the experience of a lifetime, and something I'll never forget. And that was totally able to happen because of the work that I've done within the exercise science lab and with Dr. Easley and Dr. Selkhorst. So as I was saying, there's always growth involved with almost anything you do, but particularly with research. And so conducting research as an undergraduate has set me apart and as a professional. I've participated in 3 research projects, the most being the SMART study, which was on the Lancaster campus. And SMART stands for Student Mobile Anthropometric Research Team. And so we kind of took all of our equipment and went to different areas on the Lancaster campus and took different body measurements. And it was such a great experience because we had to do a lot of problem solving and work out several different kinks that came with being a mobile research team. And then I've written 4 grants totaling $4,500 to help fund my research and help pay for my traveling expenses and my conferences and things like that. And I've written 2 abstracts and co-authored another one. I've held 7 oral presentations, 8 if you count this one. And then I've also had the privilege of networking with other student researchers ranging in backgrounds. You know, at Discover USC, you could have someone like me who was just in their associates or in their bachelor's degree, or you could have doctorate students. And then especially at, you know, in Oldenburg, Germany, as well as in Chattanooga, I was talking with different people with different levels of education, and that was an amazing experience, especially at the American College of Sports Medicine, because that was, everybody kind of knew what I was talking about, and so they were able to engage with me on a different level than maybe at some of the other conferences. And then it also promotes personal development. So probably without becoming involved with the research club and then doing the research itself, I never would have discovered my true love and passion for presenting. I cannot tell you how scared and terrified I was that first time I did a poster presentation. But after I got that out of the way, I was like, I love doing this. I need to do more of this. What else can I do? Like, how can I engage more? How can I get involved more? And then with that, I learned how to speak and present in front of people on a more professional level, because my personality is super bubbly and relaxed and almost childlike, I want to say. And that's kind of works to my benefit because I want to work in pediatrics. And so I've had to learn and adapt to be more professional and speak to people on a professional level. And so that's been a learning curve for me. I also developed a greater passion for educating the public on good health practices, because in nursing school, obviously we're focused on learning about the health and well-being of people and treating them during times of illness and promoting their health and well-being, but we don't really come at it from a exercise standpoint. And so it's been interesting for me to learn about the importance of physical activity and body composition, and, you know, not judging someone just based off of their body physique, because that's something I feel as though a lot of healthcare providers aren't necessarily as experienced or educated in. And so it's been interesting for me to see that from an exercise physiologist's point of view, instead of just, you know, maybe somebody from the medical field. Participating in research has also helped me get in the habit of seeking answers for myself and not just running to my professor or my superior and relying on them to answer any questions I might have, because technically that's considered research. If you have a question, you have to do research to get it answered. And so I would rather do that myself and go through that process, because I'm going to learn more that way than I would instead of me just running to Dr. Easley or another one of my professors and be like, hey, what does this mean? You know, I need to go through the process of finding that out myself. And they really appreciate that too. You don't always need to email them or run straight to them when you come across a problem. Try to figure it out yourself. And then research has also taught me to keep my head held high and work in the pursuit of opportunities to broaden my knowledge base. And I cannot stress this enough. I don't really subscribe to the saying, keep your head down and work hard. I want to keep my head held high and keep searching and looking for those other opportunities. If your head's down, you're not seeing what's right in front of you. So keep your head up, keep looking out for those opportunities, because you never know when one's gonna present itself. And so make sure you keep reaching out, talking, engaging on campus, engaging off campus, anything that you can do that may benefit you or benefit others. So what exactly did I do as a student researcher? A lot is the gist. So the first thing we have to do is collect data. But before that can even happen, we've got to go through some training. And that's what this picture on the right is showing. We're learning how to take waist measurements. And in order to train, we had to practice on each other before we went out and took real data on actual subjects that were a part of our study, which you can see in the picture on the left. That is us taking data in Hubbard Hall. And so, you've got to do the training before you actually begin any sort of data collection, and we'll get more into that. So in my opinion, data collection, I would consider it the most important and intricate part of the research process, because if you're not taking the measurements correctly, your results are going to be skewed. And if your results are skewed, then your research isn't technically accurate, and you're not going to get the results that may actually be accurate to your population. And so working with humans specifically can present some unique challenges that working with mice or different animals might not. Subjects may ask about the indications of their results, which can broach some touchy or sensitive topics, especially if you're taking BMI or body fat percentage. People can ask about what that means or what their results mean, especially for the SMART study. Each of our participants was able to look at and take a picture of one of the line of results that we got off one of our pieces of equipment. And they would ask some of us, well, what does this number mean? Or what does that word mean? And, especially as a student researcher, I'm not educated enough to be able to answer that accurately. And so I kind of go back to the saying of, well, I can't really tell you a lot because I'm not super educated in that area. But if you go home, you're more than welcome to Google what that means or what that number may indicate. Because I don't really want to, have to explain to somebody, well, this body fat percentage is considered this and this BMI is considered that, because it can get offensive or touchy, and people may not respond well. And then of course with humans, they're not in the lab all the time, and so we have to make appointments or we have to go to them, and sometimes they may not be available or they may not show up, and so that's just another challenge of working with humans. And then of course, like I was saying, we do have to go through some training at USC and at USCL. We had to complete CITI training, and that was an online course that we had to complete and get certified in before we could do any type of subject interaction or data collection. And then this is something that's applied even as a nurse. When you're working with any sort of subject, whether it be animals or humans, you have to follow the basic general rule of do no harm. And so that's just something you've got to always keep in mind. And that even includes making sure you're keeping subject data secret and maintaining their privacy. So then after you've collected all that data, you've got to enter that data. And that's what's going on kind of in both of these photos. So Dr. Easley and Dr. Selhorst use SPSS, which is how we run our statistical analysis, and it's what we enter our data into. So no, thankfully, you don't need any sort of statistical background, just need to be able to do some basic math like adding, subtracting, multiplying, and obviously you have a calculator that can help you with that stuff. And data entry, is always stressful for me because I'm not good at math. I'm notoriously really bad at math. And so I'm very matter of fact when I'm trying to go through and enter my numbers, and I'll double check and triple check to make sure that everything is right, because I do not want my results to be messed up, and I don't want anybody else's results who may use this data to be skewed or messed up in any way. And then after you've collected that data, you've got to run analysis, which, like I said, you don't actually do the analysis. You don't have to do any of the equations or anything like that. The program does it all for you. And so that's what's going on in both of these photos. And as you can see, my face, I do not like having to think about this stuff, but it's not as intensive as it would be back in the day, because thankfully we've got the technology that can do it for us. And that technology also removes the aspect of human error, which is great because it helps keep our results more reliable and statistically correct. So after you've done all that, you've got to write your abstract. And an abstract is essentially a summary or a condensed and concise statement of what you did and the results you got and why you think you got the results you got. And so this is one of my first abstracts that I did and presented at Discover USC. And your abstract is extremely important because typically whenever you're submitting to attend a research conference, you're just going to submit your abstract. And so that's what people are going to be reading and judging whether or not they would like you to attend their conference or not. And so you don't want to overwhelm your reader, which is why you want it to be very condensed and concise and sweet and to the point. And so, yeah, I told you I was kind of childlike. So anyway, and so then after you've submitted your abstract, written it, and done all that, you get to attend the conference. And so, like I was saying, this picture on the left is me and Dr. Easley and Dr. Selhorst and another fellow nursing student presenting at Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I just love presenting so much. And then this other photo on the right is me presenting at Research and Scholarship Day for the College of Nursing. And, you know, presenting can seem intimidating, but what I never realized until I went to my first presentation is that it's not you alone up on stage with all these peers staring at you, listening to you. At least with the conference, all the conferences I've been to, they've been poster presentations. And so it's less formal. People would just come up to you and are like, hey, can you tell me about your poster? Can you tell me what you did? Can you tell me more about the results you got? And so it's more laid back. You're not standing up there and giving everything you can and having to really expand yourself to a huge audience. It's normally 1, 2, or 3 people talking to you at the same time. And I really enjoy that close interaction more so than having to talk to a crowd of people. So how has it advanced my career and enhanced my ability to be in my field? So participating in research has helped me understand the importance of educating my patients and their families on physical activity and the topic of weight, which again, I kind of already talked about, but especially with children, it's hard for parents to understand diet and exercise, especially depending on their background. And so their education is super important to me because I don't want somebody leaving my office thinking that I didn't give them enough information. And so I'm going to do the best that I can in order to educate them on what they need to be doing and how they can keep themselves and their children healthy and promote their growth and development throughout their lifespan. It's also taught me how to work with people from all different backgrounds and knowledge bases. So obviously I've been working with Dr. Easley and Dr. Selhorst, who both have PhDs, and then I'm down here just trying to get my associates, and I'm learning from both of them. And then as I became more and more involved and leveled up in my career or academic career, I began to mentor other students and talk to them, and they saw me as a source of information that they could come to and ask questions about. And so it's definitely a process trying to educate yourself, and then once you've educated yourself, educating others and bringing them up to your level. And you know, at the end of the day, it's all about learning and becoming a better person. Also developed a better ability to problem solve and reach solutions by myself rather than going to a superior. Especially in the beginning, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Can you help me, please? And now I'm like, okay, Google is my best friend. Let me reach out to the Oracle and see if I can solve this myself rather than emailing Dr. Easley or Dr. Selhurst. And then I've become more resilient in the eyes of adversity, especially in regards to the SMART study. Like I was saying, we had to overcome quite a few obstacles, and it was stressful at times, but that's all pushed me to be a better person and a better nurse, because some shifts you just have no idea what's going to happen next. You've already seen the worst of the worst, and then next thing you know, evidently that wasn't the worst of the worst. So it's pushed me to be better and more resilient in that regard. So how can you get involved? Well, the first thing I will tell you to do is talk with and engage with your professors. If you're interested in exercise science, definitely reach out to Dr. Selhurst and Dr. Easley. They are your one-mans for anything exercise science related. But again, like I was saying, if that's not really the route you want to go, let's say you'd rather do microbiology or English or something like that, there are definitely professors on campus who can get you connected and start working on getting GLD in the research pathway, or just working on a research project. And even if you're not sure who to talk to, you can always reach out to Dr. Easley or Dr. Sellers, and they can help you in that regard as well. And that kind of leads into step 2. So you've got to put yourself out there. You have to self-select yourself because nobody's going to force you to do research. It's something you need to do on your own. If somebody was to force you to do it, you're not going to be as motivated, and you're probably not going to get the same experience as you would if you self-selected yourself. So make sure you're putting yourself out there and engaging with your professors and around campus. And then this is just something you need to be doing anyway. You need to be following the USCL Research Club on Instagram. They post all their little adventures and what projects they've got brewing going on. So make sure you follow them on Instagram. And then this connects back to don't be afraid of being different and going outside of your comfort zone. Obviously, anytime you've got to grow or learn, there is a curve to that. And, you know, there's going to be times when you may be uncomfortable, or you may be stressed, or you may not know what you're doing, but that's a part of the process. If you're uncomfortable, you're doing something right. Growth occurs in the discomfort. So always keep that in mind. So yeah, that's the end of my presentation.
So Kailey, I'm going to ask you a few questions since there's no audience here live to ask you a question. I thought I would ask you a couple of questions about your experiences and what you've learned throughout all of these things. And so I want to talk to you about what transferable skills do you feel like you've gained in research in general, and then maybe specifically in research in exercise science, since that is so closely related to your field?
So, so many ones, I can't even name them all, but the two that kind of popped right in my head were definitely some time management skills and the ability to feel more comfortable when talking to strangers. So as a nursing student, my schedule was super jam-packed. I had clinicals, I had classes, and then any other extracurriculars because I was also microbiology assistant during the summer. I was a CNA, I was working, so many different things. And then putting on top of that, I was involved in clubs, and so doing research was just one more thing I had to balance. And time management is an essential skill needed to be a good nurse, or just a nurse in general. You may have 5 to 6 patients, and then you've got to be dealing with their family, you've got to be getting their medications, you've got to be answering the phone, you've got to be charting. So time management is definitely important. And then talking to people. Obviously, most of my patients, almost all my patients actually, are going to be strangers. And so being able to feel comfortable in talking to them and educating them and being confident in what I'm saying is definitely something I've learned and gained from presenting and being around research subjects and that sort of thing. Because, research subjects, especially humans, they're not just gonna like, oh, well, let me put you through this, or let me measure this, or you've got to explain things to them and why you're doing that. And we do that in nursing as well, with any type of test or medication that we give them.
Right. So those two, nursing and exercise science, are very closely kind of linked. Can you share some of your greatest successes with regards to research?
Sure. So the first would definitely be my first place at Discover USC. That was a very proud moment. And then the second would for sure be going to Germany. And they're not technically in that order, but they're very close. Germany was just such an experience for me, to be able to present on an international level as an undergraduate. Not many people can say that they've done that. And so that's something I'm really proud of myself for. And, on top of that, because of how much hard work I'd done, because I was representing the school, most of that trip was paid for by the university, which, I got a whole travel abroad experience because of research. So again, that's why you need to get involved.
That's a pretty big success. I agree. What about your greatest challenges? Because of course, extra workload on top of, like you mentioned, your other clubs, your jobs, your just your curriculum, there's bound to be some challenges in there.
So definitely learning my time management was the first challenge I had to overcome. And then the second would be learning to do a literature review. I struggled with that so much in the beginning. And essentially what a literature review is, you're looking for supporting research or research that connects to the research that you're doing. And you use that to build your poster, and it may include it in your abstract. And that was really hard for me because in the beginning, I would be culminating through all these different research articles. And I'm not sure, is this one important? I don't know, is this one relevant? And now I've become more keen to picking things out, and I've learned how to work Google Scholar better, which has then helped me in my nursing career when I've had to do research papers or different types of assignments. And so that was definitely a struggle in the beginning. I remember coming home and just sitting in my office for at least an hour or two, like just trying to figure out, is this article good enough? Is this what I need? I don't know. And emailing Dr. Easley and Dr. Sauce and be like, hey, are these good? And now I'm like, oh yeah, this stuff is good.
I feel like, not to interrupt you, but I feel like that skill of finding literature to support your claims was probably also beneficial in some of your upper division nursing classes when you're writing papers and that sort of thing as well.
Definitely. We have a whole research course. And so when it came time to take that, some of my other team members, because it was a group project, were having a little bit more of a difficult time than I was. And I was like, yeah, I finished that. And they're like, oh, really? We're not even sure what we're looking for, what to do. And I'm like, oh, just go to Google Scholar. It's amazing.
Well, fantastic. What would you say your favorite part of research is?
Definitely the presenting, without a doubt in my mind. Like I was saying, the first time I presented, which was at Southeast ACSM, I was terrified and so nervous, and I stumbled on my words and I had to start over a couple times. I would literally be talking to people like, hold on, give me a second, I need to start over. Let me just start over. And now I feel so much more comfortable that if I mess up, I'm just like, excuse me, let me rephrase that, or let me fix something that I said. Because when you first start, it can feel intimidating and you feel like people are kind of waiting for you to mess up. But a lot of times, every time they're not looking for you to mess up. They're genuinely interested in seeing what you did and coming up to you and just having a conversation. They're not there to judge you or pass judgment on you or anything like that.
Can you talk about how you prepared for these conference presentations?
Sure. So after you create your poster, they've got to be sent off to the printer, but you have your PowerPoint or PDF version of that poster. And so I would literally sit in my office and pull up my PowerPoint and practice presenting and pointing at things on my poster that I wanted to emphasize. Or I also, while I was at school, I had a couple of my friends who were also fellow students, and I would do mock presentations to them and have them ask me questions. And of course, since they weren't in my field, they would ask really great questions because they would have no idea what body fat percentage meant or BMI.
Right. So actually, like, looking at your poster, actually practicing speaking it out beforehand to help you prepare was kind of your main method. Fantastic.
Yeah.
What about your least favorite part? Because you can't love everything about everything, right? So there had to be something that maybe either least favorite or least fun part of research.
Definitely, again, with a lit review. But also, like I was talking about, I'm so bad at math. Doing data entry was so stressful for me, and it was a little bit time consuming as well, because I was double checking and then triple checking, and then sometimes you may find little mistakes that someone made, so then you've got to track them down and figure out what they meant by that, or maybe not necessarily a mistake, but something somebody jotted down, and you've got to be like, oh, well, what did you mean by this, before you go and put data in. And I can remember being at Carol Ray and sitting in front of that computer entering SPS data into SPSS. And you've got to do sometimes some averages and things like that. And so that's a little time consuming and not my favorite part.
I could see that. I think another thing that students often reflect on is the data verification part. I'm not sure how much data verification you did for us. I don't remember. Did you do any of that, or can you share what that is?
I'm not really sure if I did a lot of that.
For people watching this that aren't familiar, Kailey has talked about the fact that she double checked and triple checked her data entry, but we're all human. And so it's very easy to miss a keystroke and maybe accidentally enter a number incorrectly. So often we have students go in after, so maybe a semester after, and review it. And so that's even a less active role, because you're not even entering, you're just double checking what somebody else has done. And while that is extremely important, it's not as action-packed as maybe data collection or presenting or that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think for the SMART study, I did one or two different things for that.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else that you would like to share with us, with students, about research in exercise science?
So I cannot stress enough the importance and the opportunities for learning and growth and self-improvement, and just how much being involved in the research club and research in general has helped me as a person. I've formed so many friendship bonds and experienced different things that I think that getting involved as an undergraduate should become the new norm. And the only thing I can really say is that you cannot be afraid of something that seems so intimidating, because in the beginning I was entirely intimidated. I don't know how I would have gotten involved. I think how I ended up getting involved is I walked into my class early and I saw you, Dr. Easley, there, and she was like, hey, we're having a meeting for the research club. Come grab a sandwich. And I was like, oh, all right. And from that day forward, I was hooked. And I'm super grateful that I just stumbled upon that, because it's led to all these different experiences and all these different things I've been able to do. And, it's helped grow my resume and my curriculum vitae. And now I'm set up for when I choose to go to grad school, and when I go to job applications, they can look at that and see, oh wow, you were involved in such and such, and you've done this and this, and that's amazing. And so it's important for your future goals, and it's important for your learning now. And so just put yourself out there and know that you are capable of doing this, and you are capable of things that you may not even realize that you are.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your experiences in undergraduate research and exercise science.
Well, thank you for having me.